All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about some comments made by C.J.Stroud on what career he would rather have, Eli Manning's career or Aaron Rodgers' career. So this is what he had to say. So like I said, I wanted to get into it. So he made an appearance on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, and he was asked if he'd prefer to have a career similar to Rodgers or Eli Manning. And for Stroud, the decision was easy. He said, you want the rings. Eli's got 2. And no hesitation. And that just shows, now, first of all, that shows that, he wants to win. That's what he cares about. He wants those championships. And for some of you, it is hard to grasp that Eli Manning does have more Super Bowl rings than Aaron Rodgers. Now, when Aaron Rodgers won that Super Bowl back in the 2010-2011 season, at that point, Eli Manning and Aaron Rodgers had the same amount of rings. But then the following year, what happened? Eli Manning went on the road and beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, the 15-1 Packers, went on and beat the 49ers, and then ultimately defeated the Patriots once again, won another Super Bowl. And then that was it. Eli didn't win another one, and Rodgers still hasn't won one. Now, Rodgers still has a chance to win another Super Bowl. And if he does, well, then they'd be tied at 2 apiece, and then C.J. Stroud would probably have to change his answer. But I think that now, he's looking at the ring aspect. So just by, hey, Eli won 2 rings, that's what I want. Okay, I understand that. But Aaron Rodgers has had far and away a better career than Eli Manning has. It's just he has one less Super Bowl. And Rodgers has made it to countless NFC Championship games, but has unfortunately been on the losing end of basically all of them, except for one. And that was the year that they won the Super Bowl. But I don't know. I'd probably still take Aaron Rodgers' career, because you take Aaron Rodgers' career, you're regarded as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, Eli Manning is probably going to get into the Hall of Fame anyways, but do we look at Eli Manning as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? No. He's one of the greatest Giants arguably is the greatest Giants quarterback of all time. But not one of the greatest of all times. Now, I think Eli Manning gets a bad rap. I mean, he led the league in interceptions 3 times. His record, now if you take out the postseason, his record is 500. He's got the same amount of wins and the same amount of losses. I think he's 117 and 117, right? So we get all that. But these 2 runs that he had in 2007 and 2011, we talk about clutch factor. He had a clutch factor. And he really rose to the occasion in big games. And against teams that, he probably shouldn't have beaten, but he did. But that's also because of his team as well, rising to the occasion. They beat the Cowboys when they were really good. I think they were the 1 seed that year in 2007. Then you beat Brett Favre in Lambeau. You beat the undefeated Patriots. Then you beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. You beat the 49ers, who were a really good team that year with Jim Harbaugh, who we talked about earlier. And then you beat Tom Brady again. And, to start off those runs, you beat a pair of NFC South teams. You beat the Buccaneers the first time, and then the Falcons the second time. And the Giants had to go on a run towards the end of the 2011 season to make the playoffs. They had to beat the Cowboys to get into the playoffs, and they did that. They beat the Cowboys twice. They were down big, or they were down by a couple of scores in Dallas in 2011, and they came back and won that game, and that was the game that JPP knocked the ball down when the Cowboys were trying to tie the game on a field goal. But, Eli Manning went on 2 incredible runs, and that's really what carries his legacy. Because in all the other years, there was a lot left to be desired. I think there was the one year where did they have home field advantage in 2008? but they lost to the Eagles. And then they did make the playoffs in 2016, although that was kind of a fluky year. That team wasn't very good, but they made it. And now, Eli, to his credit, he showed up for that game. His receivers did not. And Packers ended up winning that game. But yeah, so you could look at the 2 runs. Yeah, that carries Eli's legacy, but it's a big part of his legacy. But, for me, I'd probably still take Aaron Rodgers' career because you still get a Super Bowl. But then you're looked at as one of the greats. But then you could also say, well, if I was Eli Manning, well, I took down Tom Brady twice. So it's either you're getting, close to GOAT status or you beat the GOAT twice. That's really what you're choosing. Except you get one less Super Bowl ring. Now, if Aaron Rodgers goes out there and wins another Super Bowl, well, like I said, then C.J.Stroud has to change his answer. Because now he has the same amount of rings as Eli. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. I'd probably lean towards no. But, listen, I got the Jets winning the AFC East. I think they'll make the playoffs. Maybe they go on a run. Maybe Rodgers finally gets it done. I don't know. But, yeah, it's definitely interesting. But I feel like, again, context matters. Because I think if someone just hears, C.J. Stroud would rather have Eli Manning's career than Aaron Rodgers' career, some people's heads would explode. But when you hear his reasoning behind it, yeah, it makes sense. C.J. Stroud wants to win Super Bowls. And Eli's got Super Bowls. He doesn't have Super Bowl. He has Super Bowls. He's got 2 of them. Rodgers only has 1. So I do understand that. But for me, I'd probably rather take Aaron Rodgers' career. Just because, again, Rodgers has 4 MVPs. He's got the Super Bowl ring. He's going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I'd want his resume. But yeah, Eli's got the two rings, and he's got a legacy of his own because, like I said, he was the guy that beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice. No other player has ever done that. Nick Foles did beat Tom Brady to his credit, played really well in that Super Bowl, but Nick Foles only did it once. Eli Manning did it twice. No other quarterback could say they've ever done that. Because if it wasn't for Eli Manning, Tom Brady's got 9 Super Bowls. And maybe Tom Brady should have 9 Super Bowls. Because, you look at the first one. If Tyree doesn't make that catch, what are we saying now? We're having a completely different conversation. But that didn't happen. Tyree did make that catch. And that helped the Giants win a Super Bowl against the undefeated Patriots. But yeah, I at least as a Giant fan, I'm happy that, Stroud's putting some respect on Eli's name by saying he'd want his career over Rodgers. And Rodgers is a much better quarterback than Eli. But Eli's got 1 more championship. So Rodgers has got to match that. And we'll see if he can. And we'll see if maybe C.J. Stroud goes out there and has a great year, and the Texans find themselves in the Super Bowl. It's possible. Definitely possible. But like I always say, we will have to wait and see on that. But, some interesting comments made by Stroud. And, it's just something that I wanted to touch upon. Because it's also about 2 quarterbacks that I really like. Of course, being a big Aaron Rodgers fan, and of course, Eli, and what he was able to do for the Giants. Like I said, gets a bad rap, but it's nice that, you have a quarterback that's giving him a little bit of respect. So, but yeah, we'll see. How Stroud does this year. We'll also see how Rodgers does coming back. I know these two quarterbacks will match up late in the season. I think it's a Thursday night game, so hopefully Rodgers has a healthy season. I'd like to see these two guys go up against each other. We did see Zach Wilson go up against Stroud, and Zach Wilson had arguably his best game as a pro. And the Jets won, I think, what was it, 31-6 the score was? But, yeah, we'll see I think it's week 9 they play against each other. So, week 8 or week 9, around there. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well, like I always say. We got the NBA Finals in a couple of days, and the Stanley Cup also. It'll be Game 1, I think, is Saturday. I know I mentioned it yesterday. But, yeah, make sure to check out all the other shows as well. Give the other shows some love. And, yeah, with that is all the time that we have for today. Like I said, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.